Today, I had a wonderful chat with a Greek coach who's currently based in Dubai, Mr. Dimitris Potiris. He has won a league championship, he has won a promotion, he's helped a club escape relegation twice. I love the chat because he's so direct, straight to the point, no beating around the bush. Spoke about how he adjusts his own game model and his coaching style according to the environment. So a lot of personalization, and also about the certain things he did as a head coach that brought him success in his league winning season. It was a very good chat overall, and I'm sure every coach who watches this is going to enjoy it. Super excited for today. We have got our first coach from Greece on this podcast, Mr. Dimitris Potiris. Dimitris, you're a UFAB coach. You have also held roles as a youth development coach, first team coach, and academy director. Plus, you have also got success with one championship win, two promotions, two relegation survivals. So let's hear about your journey from you.
Hello, Ryan. First of all, thanks for the invitation. It's very important that you expose unknown coaches all over the world. I hope your YouTube channel like skyrockets. I hope the best, and it's very important what you're doing, and I hope the best. So my journey, my coaching journey began in 2016. I got my C license back in Greece. On 2020, I got my B license. And the structure and the chances for an unknown coach that I didn't play pro, it was very difficult for me to grow there. So I tried to find like opportunities abroad. So when this opportunity arose from this academy of an Indian owner, so we have like a lot of Indian kids, like 160 Indian kids from Kerala. I didn't think about it twice. I hold deep respect for the culture, even back in Greece. I knew a lot of people from India, so I hold deep respect and admiration for the culture. So I said yes immediately because I wanted to go out of my comfort zone. I wanted to come here to explore like a new environment, a new culture. So I was pretty sure that it would be good for me. And after 6 months here, I can say with certainty that it was the best decision, like the best career decision I ever made in my life, because it's a very different environment, a very different culture, and helped me grow. And I think I give to the young Indian players like a lot of information that probably in this environment they wouldn't get. You know what I mean? So
It's
I'm trying to help as much as I can.
It's interesting that you have got so much experience working with Indian kids, especially you said Kerala. So I'm assuming that you have a good understanding of the Indian culture and the South Indian culture, basically. But what is your game
Yes, yes.
like as a coach?
So to be honest, when I started, I wasn't like 100% sure what kind of game model I would like pursue or like make. But I could say more that I like to adapt to the players I find in each team. So as you said before, I began like trying to save teams from relegation, and then I got into teams that was like into championship mode. So by definition, you have to adapt. So it's very different, very different. You can't apply your model. You make a model and you apply it everywhere because sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. So I said to myself, in order to survive and grow, I have to make a game model that is like very flexible and very adaptable. So I could say that like with certainty that I like to see like 1 or 2 weeks, like what kind of players they have, what kind of mentality they have. So after that, I'm adjusting a little bit my game model, you know? So for example, you said before, like in a team that try to avoid relegation, the mentality is low and the way of the players think it's very different from a team that is a champion. So even the training, it has to be different. It can't be the same. So you have to offload a little bit. So to give them like more courage. But in the championship team, you have to keep them like every week in their toes. You know what I mean? So you have to change the way of training. It must be more load in the training. Must like keep them on their toes. So
But
so I could say like to answer your question, like finally, my game model is something that I'm waiting to see what kind of environment am I, in what kind of players do I have. So I'm trying like to adjust it to take the best out of everything.
I understand it has to be relevant to the environment. However, do you have some kind of signature style of play that you prefer?
I could say because I was playing also as I was a player, I was playing like a central defender, I was playing defense midfielder, so I had a better understanding of the game. I was watching like always the game from behind. I like playing out of the back from the goalkeeper, playing like a possession style game. But sometimes it's difficult because the players you don't have the time to teach this thing, you know. So I could say that I like to press more. I like to be high on the pitch, but also sometimes it's very difficult to leave a lot of space behind. So the opponent, the opposite team will run behind your teammates. So you have to have like a good goalkeeper to play outside. I like these characteristics, but as I said before, I try to adapt. I try to adapt in order to survive because coaching world and it's very competitive. It's very crazy. You don't have a second chance. You know what I mean?
I agree. I agree completely. And I thought it's good to ask you. So, since you've worked in Greece as well as in Dubai, so what is the football environment like in both the places?
It's very different. It's very different. So first of all, the aspect of the temperature and the environment is very different. It's very difficult. So you have to adapt your training. You have to adjust your training. So when I came here, it was June. So June here was like 40, 45 degrees. And I was training kids like from like 10, 11 to 15, 16 years old. So imagine like back in Greece on June, the temperature like is 30. So if you train in Greece, the 1 hour, 1 hour and a half training session, uh, usually in Greece like has one or two breaks. Here I had to make like 4 or 5 breaks for water. So immediately this changes like the whole structure of the session.
Yeah.
Even like the repetitions in every exercise you make, you have to make them like less, so to give them like more time to breathe, or you can make like the training after, like in the night, so the temperature is better. So it was like for me a big challenge,
Yeah.
like coming here like from like straight away in 2 weeks and change all my training sessions in order to adapt to something like it's a survival mode here. You know, even in June it was like 50 degrees. You couldn't have training in this environment. So the temperature aspect for me is the most important. After that, I was exposed to kids that had never like training before, like football, proper football training before. You know what I mean? So for me, I had to take a step back to like go to the fundamentals and the basics, and after that like try to be like more precise and more like structured. So it took like 4 or 5 months for me to get like the basics in every age category, and then with the other coaches try to do something best.
And how long did it take for you to identify that there's such a difference in the football culture?
Well, even in Greece, when you go to a new environment, I always take like 1 or 2 weeks so to evaluate and see in which level the players are. So you play games, you try to see like how the players react. It took me like 2 or 3 weeks to see that I needed to adjust a little bit because I came here with another structure and said like we're going to do this, we're going to do this. So I took a step back after 2 or 3 weeks. I took a step back and go back to basics.
Understandable. Well, I think from what I've understood, you're quite a adaptable coach. So for you, adjusting to the environment is priority, and it definitely makes sense. Now, we'll again talk about something that's perhaps your biggest achievement in your coaching history. So with a club called APS Teneatis, if I've pronounced it right, you made
Exactly.
them champions after 42 years in a Leicester City kind of similar to Leicester City, their achievement. So very unexpectedly. So, can you tell us more about the like in as much detail? And why I'm asking this is that maybe there are certain secrets to the success that other coaches can steal from it.
So this is like a 2 hour podcast just talking about this, but I will try to be like as much like precise and quick as I can. So I used to play in this team almost all my career. I played in 3 teams in total, but like 12 years of my career I played there, and the last 5 years I was also a captain there. So I had like a big connection with the area. I grew up there when I was like a kid, so I had a good connection with the club. I knew the players. Most of the players were my teammates. I knew like the administration. I knew like the fans. So I had the connection. So when the opportunity arose on 2021-22 season, I said yes immediately because I knew the team was ready to take the step back, to take the step like forward. So I knew. So we recruited with my assistant. We recruited like 3 or 4 young players from like nearby areas that we knew that they were good players, and with the local players, which like 80% of the team is local players. It's a region about like 10,000 people. So it was like a kind of like Athletic Bilbao style, but not exactly this, more Real Sociedad, because also Real Sociedad takes some transfers. So we were something like that. So imagine like a team like Real Sociedad competing in La Liga and overtaking like Barcelona, Real, Sevilla, Bilbao. So it was something like that.
Yes.
So I knew when the administration made me the offer, I was sure that this team can do the step forward. So I said yes immediately. Some other coaches said no before me. So I was sure because I knew the players. I knew how to intrigue them like mentally. So I said yes. I took one physical education teacher with me as an assistant. So we made a very good job. The team was already ready to make the leap, and it was we were lucky in some sense because it was like a playoff championship style. So it was like 20 teams, 10 and 10 in each group. So we finished like second in our group. So we went in the semifinals. We won the semifinals. Nobody expected, and then in the final we won the game with the 10 players on 70 minutes. The final were 10 players, and they were like battering us. They had like us in our like half, and in 92 minutes we scored a goal and we won like 2-1. It was like completely unexpected. So imagine like the Real Sociedad playing Barcelona or Real and playing with 10 players and in the end winning. So it was like an amazing. And the most important story in this is that the guy that scored the goal in the last minute, I used to play with him all the time. He's like a local legend. He played like 20 years in this team. And the summer before, on the recruiting thing, he told me like, coach, I will not continue. I'm too old. I'm too tired. I can't. And I tell him, stay 1 year, and I'm sure that we are going to do something good, like something to be remembered. And when he scored the goal, came like on the bench, and we were crying, like because football is like very emotional thing. And he was telling me this exact like phrase that I told him like 1 year before.
Yeah.
So it was very emotional. It was something that even if I become professional, if I do like a lot of things, or even win the World Cup, it would mean more because it was like my area, it was my teammates, it was like family there. I had my brothers, 2 brothers. They
Yes.
play football also, so I had them as players. So
Mhm.
it was something different and exciting. So even if I stop now coaching, I'm full. You know what I mean?
You'll remember this. You'll remember this for life. What a fairy tale journey. But I would also
Exactly,
like to know, since you
exactly.
led that team, there might have been a few things that you have done that brought you that success. So what would you say overall, like what were the steps you took as a coach that might have brought the success?
I understand what you're saying. I'm trying to be like as much like precise as I can. The most important thing is that I took with me one physical education teacher. I used to have him as a coach. He's now like 45 years old. He was working a lot of years like in this area in fourth division, but I knew his level was like for second division Greece or even for first division. So I told him like when I went, I need you with me. I know you can train them. I know you can like take the best out of them. So come with me. I knew his character, which like trust is very important in a staff, like a coaching staff. So I took him with me, and he elevated the players. He was like motivating them. The nutrition, the diet, the training was like intense. We had like 25 players like every day in training, which is very very difficult in Greece, like in fourth division, because it's like semi-professional. It's not professional, you know.
Yes.
So the first thing was that the recruitment was amazing because all 4 players that we took was good players and they fitted in like as characters in the group, but also as players, like inside the group. They create a lot of competition inside the first 11. So it was amazing. And the I think the most important thing is like the motivation process, because the motivation process, I knew the players were hungry
Yeah.
for a championship. I knew they were undervaluated in this area. So all year I was trying to give them like the visualization that if we take the championship, what will happen?
Right.
And I think that was the most important thing, like the motivation process.
And after such a journey, now let's take Leicester City for example. They After they won that, there were offers for their players from other teams. So did your players also get offers? Did you get offers after that season?
I got offers. Yes, some of the players got offers, but as I told you before, these guys were like Basques, you know. So like two or three players left. Even the recruitment guys that we recruited stayed there. They are still there. Like for example, it was 20 like 2 years before, and like three or four players have changed. So
Okay.
I got offers. I got offers. I went like one division above. Like next after that, I went one division, third division. Like last year, I was third division. But I could say I was more inspired by the Greece triumph on 2004
Yeah.
with Otto Rehagel, which was like something he took us like out of the world football and took us like into the top in Euro. It was like a bigger surprise. I was more inspired by this. I was using like this example a lot of times in the dressing room, more like this. Leicester, of course, yes, but I would find more similarities with the triumph of 2004 of this
Brilliant.
like amazing thing they did.
That's incredible. But now again, here you are working with with men's adults senior team, men's team. Now, how do you find a difference? Do you enjoy it as much when you work with grassroots and youth players, especially after? Because see, usually a coach who has achieved something like that, they usually continue at senior team level.
Yes, I understand your question. To be honest, uh, after my experience in Greece, because I began with grassroots. I began like from 5, 6 year olds. I went like to under 11, under 13. Then I got to adults. Like I was coaching 3 years like an adult coach before I came here. 4 years, to be honest. So when this opportunity arose, I wanted to step my foot here. I wanted to come here, and my ultimate goal is to work as a first coach, as a head coach, or even an assistant coach in some like coaching staff, like professional, you know. But grassroots coaching is exciting, is amazing because you can see the development. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's a different thing. So it regenerates me a little bit more and rejuvenate me like in a coaching sense. So
Right.
I love it and I like it because I see the feedback from the kids, you know. And we do a lot of things. We don't do just football. I make them like exams about like football so they can know more about football, like all the World Cups, so they can try to search online and see what's happening like before. So it rejuvenates me and regenerates me a little bit. So I like it, to be honest. And
Yes, I'm
maybe I will go in this road. I don't know.
That makes sense. I mean, you're basically, it's a good way of getting into the industry in that area and then proving yourself. And also, I'm sure grassroots is also challenging because after all, you're working with players, you have to really customize everything over there. So I'm sure that's
Mhm.
amazing. Now, I also wanted your opinion. So you mentioned a little bit about being the captain of this club as a player for 5 years. So, did being a captain as a player help you as a coach, because of course leadership is so important, and what are your thoughts on effective leadership in coaching?
Yes, there was like an advantage, a big advantage of me because I was a captain of most of these players. Like 60, 70% of the players I coached, I was also their captain. So actually, I was kind of a coach with never undermining like my coach when I was a player. But inside the football field, when you're a captain playing like as a center back, of course, you know, like a lot of examples like Sergio Ramos or John Terry or Javier Zanetti. When you play in the defense and you are a captain, you see the whole game. You
Yeah.
can navigate. You can dictate how the team plays inside. You can help them. You have to be inspiring. So I already had this respect from my players when I was their teammate. So it
Yeah.
was a big advantage. So
Right.
if you play in a team and you are a captain, I think there is an advantage because you see things differently. And
Mhm.
we can see like in professional football, all these players that are captains and play like in the back, they have a different understanding of the game. So
Yes.
for me, it was a big advantage. It helped me a lot. I think even seeing the game differently and calculating like the situations playing inside. So if you play football, I think you have an advantage. If you haven't played football, that doesn't mean you can't be a coach.
Mhm.
But if you find like players like this, like real leaders and real captains, it makes your job easier. I think as a coach.
I understand. And you said that most of those players have played under you as a captain, but then you are still their teammate. So how did you ensure? And of course, teammate to coach is a very, very big difference in relation. So how did you
That
manage that?
That was tricky, Ryan. That was tricky because I also had my brothers there. I also had players that we used to play together, like go out, have fun. And like at some instant moment, I became their coach. That was tricky. And I had a procedure. I was honest with them. And I told them that anyone that is going to undermine this, will
Yes.
have a problem with me, and he will cause a problem in the end in himself because I was determined to succeed. You know, I always like visualizing what will happen. So I try to create a unity.
Yes.
So when someone was trying like to unconscious like do something that was out of the normal,
Yes.
everybody else were keeping him inside. So I was lucky enough because I had like very strong captains, very strong leaders in my team. I was very lucky. I had some players that was like 30, 35. I had a good mix, like an average of 28, 29, which is a good mix, like mature players that know what they want. So I didn't have like to punish someone or get him out of the team. I was lucky enough in this. So the most important thing is is that I made the right decision to go to this team. Like everything else was easy. So any coach that would go to this team, I think if he had like this procedure and this like way of working, this team would do something good. I was not the lucky. I would say I was like the smart because I said yes to this proposal because
Right.
the players were already mentally there. I just gave them like the right boost.
I'm not sure if you're being humble about it. You don't want to take too much credit yourself, but I'm sure you've played a part there. Now, success can be measured in terms of league titles, like you won, but success can also be measured in terms of surviving relegation, because that's a big thing for a football club. So, you spoke a little bit about it at the beginning, but can you tell me how different the everyday training environment is for a club aiming for survival, as opposed to a club that's aiming for a higher spot?
So you're absolutely right in this because I was very satisfied in my second year as a coach, which this year made me gave me a big boost
Yeah.
in order to believe in myself and my confidence as a coach. So next second year as a coach, I after ten like matches, I went in a team in
Yeah.
fourth division again, and this team had like just one draw after 10 matches, and it was like 30 matches in total. So we had like 20 matches left. So in these 20 matches, I tried to evaluate like the team, and we made a recruitment, two recruitments, very good recruitment, because I knew them as teammates. I recruited them in my team. I told the players like, I want help, so come and help me. And we managed to survive like by 2 points. Like in the last two matches, it was also a little bit of drama. In the last two matches, we won like 4 points, and we overtake like one other team that had 4 points. So in the same like point system, because we had won them in the match, so we survived and they got relegated.
Yes.
But
Okay.
the mentality was very different because when I went there, I saw players without confidence, without like believing in themselves. So I tried like from the first day
Yes.
to give them like this back because I knew they were good players. I knew there was a good team. But
Mhm.
with the previous coach, sometimes even me doesn't things don't go well. So this coach things didn't go well. So they changed. I went there. I was sure about this team. So the first game I was lucky because we were playing with a team with a lot of injuries. So we won like 1-0. So after that, we did some good results. We also drew twice with the team that took the championship. So I was using these two results as an evidence that we are a good team. We can do this. Like we have the potential, but
Right.
se- getting a team to survive and getting a team to the champions, as I said before, it's a total different. Like way of working. I enjoyed both, but I think if you ask me, more difficult to get the team not relegated, but
Mhm.
to get the team like take the champions. If you ask me now, like after all these years, I haven't thought about it, but now that you are telling me this, I think it was more difficult. It was also my second year. I was not so experienced. I made more mistakes. You know, you learn from your mistakes. It was challenging, but I
Right.
enjoyed it also.
That brings me to the follow-up question, just to get a bit more detail. So now, as a team that's winning, results are good, everyone's happy. Now, I'm sure there might have been spells where your team may not have been winning too much, may have been drawing a few matches. So, and within that, you have got players who are in the starting 11, players who are in the substitutes, reserves. How do you motivate a group like that? Because there's so much adversity involved.
You have to be honest. The most important thing is honesty, I think. At least I am trying to be honest.
Yeah.
with the players, because players are human beings. They are not like robots, you know. Sometimes you play players, sometimes you don't play, sometimes you don't use them like a lot. Sometimes they are injured. They want like a tap in the back to help them and try to tell them that when you come back, I'm here for you. So
Yes.
the most important and the most difficult thing in coaching, as you already know because you're a coach too, is having like a real connection with the players and feel like the players should feel that you are there for them. Everybody. It's difficult. It doesn't happen, but I think you have the time in a championship of 30 games, 35 games, 40 games. You have the time to show them sometimes that you are there for them. You have the time to punish them, like in the bracket, you know.
Mhm.
So I think in the end of the day, the man management thing is 51-49 for me.
Okay.
51-49. Coaching is good in the game. Training is good. Is everything has to be calculated, but man management for me, because they are human beings, is for 51-49 for me.
Coaches keep their job or lose their job because of man management. So, as an experienced coach, what are your tips for other coaches so that they can really ace this art of man management?
As you said before, I'm very humble. I'm very humble guy. I don't use as you we talked like before. I don't use Instagram. I don't use Facebook. I'm not in this like generation. I don't know. I only use LinkedIn for business purposes. So I'm very humble. I'm not in the position to give any advice. But with my experience, like 8-9 year experience that I have in coaching, and I'm like almost like 10 years in this job, and I live by this job. This is my main job in Greece and now here. The only advice I could give is that if you want to do this job, you have to really love this job. You have to study the job, like to see the grades, like see what's happening. So,
Yeah.
for example, one thing I do like every weekend and every day, I watch like the press conference of the coaches, because I can see a lot of things there. I can see a lot of things that and most people don't see. You see a press conference like of Guardiola, of Klopp, of Tuchel, and you can see like they are talking about football. But I see some details that
Yes.
I didn't see before, you know. So I like football. I live football. I love football, and every day my life is football. If you don't love the sport, if you don't enjoy the sport, there is no point doing this, because it's very consuming mentally and physically. So at some point you will lose your interest.
It's
So if you don't love it, don't go in it.
and
You
then
have to love it. You have to
that
be
passion
passionate about it.
and then that passion is transferred to the players. And
Exactly.
now we have spoken a lot about positives, but I'm sure there are sacrifices and difficulties that you have to had to make in this journey. Can you give us a few examples?
The sacrifices you have to make to be a professional coach is a lot, and you know about it. But for me personally, I left my family back. I'm here in Dubai. I'm 6 months. I don't know when I'm going to when I'm going like to return. Friends, family, even relationships.
Mhm.
The sacrifices are a lot, because in order for a football coach, unknown football coach like me, who didn't play pro, in order to survive, I have to make all the right decisions, like all the right career decisions. So if I make one mistake, there is no turning back. For example, I see some like players that play like professionally, very established players like Pirlo
Mhm.
or like Gattuso, or I don't know, like it's a lot of examples. They began coaching. They made one bad year as a coach,
Yes.
and now they can't like go back in top. Like Pirlo for me is an example, because he was a player like I used to enjoy watching, because I liked him a lot. I was playing a central midfielder also when I was young, and I was watching him. And then he became a coach. I was sure that he is going to be a good coach, because he was a football thinker. But then he made like one bad year with Juventus, and after that he couldn't make it in the top. Now I lost his track. I think he's in Turkey somewhere. I'm not sure, or in one national team. I'm not sure. Like even Montella, he made like a comeback now with the Turkey national team. But it's a very competitive sport. It's very competitive, and if you make one mistake,
Yeah.
it will be difficult to go back. So the sacrifice that you have to make
Yeah.
are enormous.
Yes, it's Pirlo has had to actually take a drop down to step to Serie B with Sampdoria, so I can understand what.
Sampdoria, yes, exactly, yes,
Yes, I
you're
can
right.
understand what you're saying. So this was an amazing chat. It's very clear that you've taken the most out of your experience in multiple environments. But as a coach, what are your future plans? Where do you see yourself in a few years? What does the future look like?
So as a professional coach, you can plan some things. I plan some things, but in this profession, what this profession taught me is that today I'm in Dubai. Maybe something arises like after 1 year, I might be in Saudi, and then after 2 years, I might be in China. I'm ready to do the steps in order for me to succeed in this competitive environment. But to be honest, I like Dubai. This is an amazing city. It's an amazing country, like very safe, very structured. I see myself here the next like 2 or 3 years. I will try to do my best here. And
Yeah.
if something like comes up here, I will evaluate it. If not, I will try to find like opportunities abroad, Australia, USA, back to Europe, maybe China. But football is celebrated everywhere, and I don't think there is a country of football. Like football is like universal. So I have some plans, maybe adding myself to a coaching staff as an assistant coach, or trying like to find opportunities, second division, third division, all around the world to gain experience, get my next badge with UEFA. It's my plan like next year to go back to Greece to get my UEFA.
Yep.
And after that, I have like some short-term plans and of course the long-term plan. But there are some plans. But football, you have to adapt because football can send you like everywhere if you are ready to go.
Football is unpredictable.
Exactly.
I think this was a brilliant podcast. I wish you all the best with your endeavors. What I really enjoyed is that you're such a straight talker. So you're right on the point, no beating around the bush, and your passion for coaching is very, very evident. So I'm sure you're going to make a tremendous success. And thank you so much for your time. I understand that you're right now busy in your day, but you have decided to be kind enough to take around 40, 45 minutes out. So pleasure having you.
The pleasure is mine, Ryan. Thank you, and I hope this podcast will skyrocket, and I hope the best for you too. Thank you very much for this podcast. Thank you for the
Grateful.
opportunity.
Grateful. Thank you.